Hey there, Derek Rydall here, founder of the Law of Emergence and author of the best-selling books, Emergence and the Abundance Project. And I'm talking today about the great grieving and why we must go through it, but also why we need to go through it very mindfully and carefully, full of care. And grief is something that we experience when we have a loss. Of course, we understand that. And what we may or may not have fully apprehended is just how much loss we are going through, our loved ones are going through, and so much of the world is going through right now. Now, even if you listen to this months or years from now, where the world is not in a global pandemic and financial crisis, this principle is still really, really important because loss is a way of life. It's really a part of life. And right now, there's tremendous loss going on, and it's only going to compound. There's the loss of life. There's the loss of freedoms as we're quarantined. There's the loss of dreams, businesses that were just about to get started that collapse, businesses that have been going that will collapse, trips. My wife, we had a big plan, a big European trip planned for her birthday, which was a dream come true. It's gone. It's not going to happen now. And you can't replace that moment that it's a key birthday in her life and it's been a lifelong dream to do it for this birthday. There's a great grieving there. Again, life's lost. Obviously much bigger grievings, but there's weddings that didn't happen. There's churches and temples that may not be able to come back if people aren't continuing to donate to them. There's all kinds of psychological loss. There's a loss of innocence the world over. There's a loss of a sense of immortality for a lot of young people that didn't even think this was possible. There's so much loss mentally and emotionally and psychologically and financially and business-wise. And we've never as a world gone through so much loss and fear of loss at the same time. We've certainly had some very challenging times, the Great Depression, the World Wars, and that was certainly powerfully, and profoundly impactful on people. And if you look at what occurred afterwards, you can see dramatic shifts in the zeitgeist of society and imperatives and values and whole reevaluation of countries. That's happening now, and that's going to happen as a result of this. And we know that on a deep level, that life will never be quite the same. That Humpty Dumpty, once Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall, you cannot put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And there's also going to be a loss of a lot of cherished ideas and beliefs that did not serve us, right? A lot of people in relationship, quarantined, close quarters, conflict, fighting, people having to face some of their deeper demons and shadows and fears. And in order to move through this, those parts of them have to begin to break down and even die. And grieving happens whether you lose a good thing or a quote unquote bad thing, because if it's been part of your ego and part of your psychological construct, your sense of self and your map of reality, then losing that, even though in the long term it's good for you, feels bad. There's literally a breakdown of neural pathways. There's a chemicalization in the body that can feel actually like you're sick or even have fluish symptoms. There's all kinds of breaking down and of loss. And I do believe in the long term, it's very good. And spiritually, it's 100% good if we're willing to do the work. But we must go through the grieving. And I'm going to talk about after that why we must also be very careful. Because the grieving process, there are 5 basic stages of grieving. There's denial, there's anger, there's, there's bargaining, there's depression, and there's acceptance. There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So denial is when it was what you saw happening with this crisis. Oh, it's no big deal. It's just like the common flu. I'm just going to go party. I'm just going to go here, there, whatever, do the same thing. And a lot of that happened in Italy, and a lot of those younger people came home, got their families sick, and a lot of family members died, and it's happening all around the world. there was a lot of denial. I personally, for the first time I'd ever experienced, had a very prophetic vision weeks and weeks before this was a major crisis in Europe and the US. And people thought it was just going to be a China thing, kind of like SARS. And I said, this is going to get really, really bad. And everybody thought I was crazy. I'm trying to stop my wife from going places, my kids, my mom, and everybody just thought I was just catastrophizing. There was a lot of denial. It's a built-in system to deny the worst case scenarios, but it's also very dangerous. As we can see in the US right now, the denial by the government and then the slow to act has now put the US as the number one in the cases of corona, and it's going to get way, way worse. In fact, we very well may end up having more cases than all of the world combined because of denial. Now, some of it was also politically motivated, but that's not the point of this conversation, although there's a denial in that too. So denial, right? So things have changed. Life as we know it is changed. Jobs are being lost by the millions. Financial fortunes have been deeply hurt. Pensions have been wiped out, or at least largely. We don't know where the future is going to go. A lot of people are sitting around not knowing, but there's a lot of denial. They're binge watching Netflix. They're, and some of this is good. They're having dance parties and doing all kinds of stuff, street parties and stuff. But a lot of it is still a denial, because to feel the feelings of fear and sadness and the sense of deep loss is terrifying. And from an evolutionary place, the mind doesn't know the difference between deep emotional pain and physical pain. So it protects us from that. It protects us from feeling it because it believes if we go there, that's like being mortally wounded and we're going to bleed out. It's important to know that from the evolution of the brain, I meant the brain, not the mind, the evolution of the brain, that it doesn't view emotional pain different than physical pain. And so our only fear is a fear of feeling. Okay? If you look at anything that you're doing that you shouldn't be or not doing that you should be, underneath it is a feeling you're afraid to feel. All addiction and compulsion, beyond the absolutely provable cases of genetic or neurological problems, is an attempt to avoid feeling. It's a repression of feeling. We eat food, but we can never get enough of what we're not really hungry for because we're stuffing down our feelings. And so if you've ever fasted for a long period of time, you notice that there's all kinds of emotion that comes up. There's loneliness and there's sadness and there's fear and anger. So denial is a very, very powerful state. And when we are going through this process right now, if we don't feel our feelings, we are in trouble. Much worse trouble than just the coronavirus. The coronavirus won't have nothing on us based on the damage long term that a denial of our feelings and the feeling of loss and on grief, what that will cause. That emotional energy will become stuck and stagnant. It'll turn into more addiction. You watch the addiction rates go up. It'll turn into more compulsive behavior. You watch all kinds of the compulsive behaviors that will go up. Workaholism, over-sexing, over-shopping, all manner of things will go up as a way to avoid the feelings. So right now, more than ever, we need to have a practice to feel our feelings and take it all the way through. We don't want to get emotionally constipated. You have to feel. Not indulge, not go down with the ship, but to breathe and observe and hold the feelings, to notice them in your body, where in your body, to send them love, to not try to change them, but to give them space to breathe and move and do their work. Just like a forest fire, if it's natural, actually does all kinds of important clearing. The emotions that we're experiencing, if we let them do their work, do all kinds of powerful work for us. Okay? So we have to feel our feelings. The second one, which is one of the big feelings, is anger. And we need to feel the anger. Anger is often a signal. Fear is a signal that we're believing a lie. And this is what I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And underneath the lie, there's a truth it's pointing to that we need to apprentice under. Anger is often a signal that we're stepping over ourselves. We're stepping over our truth or our voice or our true healthy boundaries, or someone else's, because we're not holding our boundaries. So we get angry. But at the bottom line, we're really always angry at ourselves because we didn't hold our boundaries. Not always. There are times when we've held them and we've been clear and strong and somebody violates them. And then that anger is righteous anger. But a lot of this time, we feel helpless, we feel powerless, because we either don't know what we really want or need, or we do and we're stepping over it. And we don't know what we really want or need because we haven't been taught, trained, or even it be permissible to know what we want and need and to go for it and to ask for it. We were probably trained growing up that we were asking for too much. We were bothering mommy and daddy, and we were not appreciative. And so we got the message, don't want too much, don't ask for too much. If you do, you're going to get love withheld from you. So we've been trained, right? It's greedy, it's selfish, it's mean to want and to need too much. But as a result, we got stunted emotionally as children, and then we throw tantrums, either externally or we internalize them, beat up ourselves, abuse ourselves, again, addictions and compulsions, because underneath it, we have not really got in touch with what we truly need, and we haven't been taught how to meet those legitimate needs, most of which are emotional and psychological. We need to talk to ourselves a certain way. We need to love ourselves. We need to value ourselves. We need to respect ourselves. And then some of them are active. We need to do certain things that we really want. So fear and anger, these are very common feelings that will come up during a time like this, right? So you have to move through these stages. Notice the denial. Don't, as I've talked about recently, don't put your head in the sand, and don't go airy-fairy and spiritual gobbledygook and put your head in the clouds and do a spiritual bypass around it. See it as it really is. Feel the feelings that are really there. Let that energy move through you. Let it become transmuted. There's an alchemy that's trying to happen. As I said, it will burn away the dross. It will burn away the dead wood, like the forest fires and the raging storms. It will clear your heart and mind. And after the rain is gone, the sun will be out, and there'll be clear vision. And it's clearing the ground of your being and fertilizing the soil of your soul so that that seed of greater purpose and potential can now grow, can now break through, new green, new growth. But if you don't go through it, then that energy that needed to move through, that it's like taking a forest fire and just locking it up inside of you. What's that fire going to do to you? It's going to turn into autoimmune disease. It's going to turn into compulsive behavior. It's going to turn into all manner of violence, mentally or emotionally or even physically. Outbursts, anger, or it's going to turn in on of itself and become depression. Unexpressed energy and life force is not benign. It metastasizes. It becomes cancerous. It becomes destructive. It's not personal. That energy must move. Emotion, energy in motion. Okay? So be aware of the denial. Don't deny what's happening. It's not the truth in the bigger picture, and we'll get to that. It's a fact, though. And it's got information for you. It's showing you where you need to get purified. It's showing you where you need to let go of something. And if you do that, your emotional resilience will get stronger. Your soul stamina will get stronger. As I said, as it clears through you fully, the denial, the anger, you feel it, you let it move through you. And some of the anger may be righteous, like, God damn it, why didn't the government act faster? We need to do something about that. Why were we so underprepared? Why was the health, the areas of preparation defunded, or whatever was going on in your country? Or maybe your family didn't listen and now some of them are sick or got you sick. There's righteous anger to be had here, right? The people that aren't taking it seriously and then became super spreaders, spreading the virus everywhere. The financial institutions and companies that were abusing their finances, that weren't good stewards, and now they have to be bailed out. There is plenty of room for righteous anger too. So feel that if you feel it. Okay? But then there comes another stage, which is bargaining. And bargaining is where even if we felt some of the feelings, but we haven't really taken it all the way through, now the mind kicks in to try to survive and try to beg and plead with life, with God. Please don't let this be so. Please don't let this happen. Please let me get my job back. Please let me not get fired. Please let them live. Please let them not have died. Please let my pension not have fallen apart. Please let my pension come back. Please let me just wake up from this nightmare, which has got the denial in it. And so we are still bargaining. We're trying to bargain our way. It's like, let's make a deal. And I don't know, any of you that know me, I tell a story about when I had my spiritual awakening where I was caught in a coral reef and I was stuck and nobody knew I was there and I was underwater, and it was like an underwater booby-trapped tomb out of an Indiana Jones movie with giant spiked coral inches from my body, face, stomach, chest, and fire coral surrounding me. I couldn't touch the walls. I couldn't go down. I couldn't look up. I couldn't breathe deep or I would have been punctured and bled out. There were sand sharks swimming beneath me. It was getting dark. I was screwed. And I was like going through, I was denying. And then I was like, how could I be so stupid? And I was angry. And then I started to bargain. Please, God, if you just get me out of this, I promise I'll go to church on Sunday. And I was just, no amount of wit, no amount of cleverness, no amount of anything I could do humanly was going to get me out of this mess. And I got to a moment where I knew I was going to die. I didn't hope I wouldn't. I knew I was going to drown. And in that moment, after first moving through deep sorrow, which is the next stage, depression, deep sadness, deep grief, I'm going to die today. I saw my family and friends and all of them on the beach standing around my body having floated up on the water. I know this is morbid, but this was what I went through. I was so defeated. And then I realized there was nothing left to do but surrender. Not bargaining. I had tried that. God, please get me out of this. I'll go to church. I promise I'll be a good boy. God was not playing let's make a deal that day. And all that was left was to surrender. And so I did. I truly let go. And that is acceptance. And in that moment, there was a flash of light. And I saw that the character of Derek that I've been trying to fix and change and heal and improve for so many years was just a fiction, an amalgamation of personal, social pressure and societal pressure and peer pressure and parental fantasies, and nothing would ever make him enough. He was a character. But right behind him, the real self was whole and complete and perfect, had never been hurt, so he didn't have to be fixed, was already complete, so he couldn't be improved upon. Self-improvement was an oxymoron. And in that flash of light, in the next moment, I was standing outside of the coral reef on the one space that I could stand, looking back in where I'd been stuck. And the exit was just inches behind me the whole time, but I couldn't see it. And I saw the whole maze of coral that I'd been swimming through and realized it was a metaphor for my life. And what had happened was I had gotten stuck. I had been gasping for air my whole life, swimming, following all these brightly colored things in my life. And in that moment of true surrender, something broke open inside of me. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. A portion of my ego finally broke loose. And I saw things more clearly than ever before. And everything had a luminosity to it. And my life changed. I went on to try to become a monk. I pulled out of society. It changed the whole trajectory. Now, it changed it for the good. That moment of surrender broke me free from a karmic bond, broke me free from a program, from a limited map of reality and identity, and allowed a little more of my destiny to break through. That's the power of grieving. This great grieving we're in right now, or the little grieving you might be in, or your loved ones. If we allow it to do its work on us and go through those stages, it breaks karma. It cracks open the shell of our ego, like the little baby chick locked in an egg, pecking and pecking, and finally it cracks open to a larger world. But the struggle it goes through during that egg strengthens it and makes it viable to survive and thrive in the larger world. There's a great grieving going on right now, and maybe going on in your heart. But that turned my life more on course, not off course. That deep and real surrender. And I went through all of it: denial, anger, what is the other one? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and ultimately acceptance or surrender. Real surrender. Not let's make a deal, God. Not quid pro quo. Life doesn't make deals, right? The only deal is come into alignment with the truth of your being, and then life will flourish as you. That's the deal. Don't come into alignment with life and you'll suffer. What is life spelled backward? What is live spelled backwards? Evil. So you have to come into alignment with it. But one of the reasons why we have to go through crisis and struggle and suffering like a lot of nature is because we get locked into these limited patterns and personality constructs and maps of reality, mental maps, and we're stuck in a program. We're unconscious, dreaming we're awake, but we're really asleep. The lights are on, but nobody's really home, right? And so life's incessant and relentless impulse to be alive, to expand, to be more as you, creates a breakdown to create the breakthrough. And it looks like a forest fire, a storm, a drought, a crisis, a pandemic, a collapse, and sometimes a disease or a dis-ease. But if you do the process, if you go through the great grieving, it will crack you open. It will renew, restore, and resurrect you. And new grass will grow, new life will flow, new energy and insights will unfold for you. I'm telling you what I know for sure. And it's hard, and it's scary. I get it. Believe me, I'm with you. I go through plenty. I've had my moments of fear and panic during this experience as I've watched big portions of my portfolio evaporate and big pivots in my company and security for my family and my children and my wife. And I get it. But you know what's allowed me to not only go through it, but grow in it and break through to whole new levels? I've never felt more inspired, more on purpose, more alive, more awake, more aware, more excited for what's unfolding, more connected to the divine life force, more in love with you and everybody. It's because I'm going through this journey. I'm going through this process. And that's why I just really want to share it with you. Let the grieving happen. Let the dead wood fall away. Let whatever storms are going on inside of you do their work. Don't indulge in it. Go through the steps. And then finally, as I was saying, acceptance and surrender is not the same as acquiescing. So while the world is bombarding you with all these beliefs that life is never going to be good anymore, and you're never going to get a job anymore, or you're going to go broke and go into debt or become bankrupt or get sick or die, or whatever the beliefs of lack, limitation, there are rumors of war, all of that, the big conspiracy theories, whatever's going around, that you do not acquiesce to the beliefs of man. Okay? You do not acquiesce to the condition. You're surrendering not to the condition. In that moment when I surrendered, I wasn't surrendering to the condition. I was surrendering to my idea of God. I was like, all right, God, here I am. Take me. And another way to say that is surrendering to the highest potential in you. Right? When Jesus said, if you try to save your life, you'll lose it. But if you lose your life for my sake, you'll have life eternal. He wasn't talking about for the sake of Jesus. The my is capital. It's the I within you. It's the highest ideal, the perfect pattern of the divine presence, whatever metaphor works for you. If you're willing to lose your life, if you're willing to let go and surrender to that perfect pattern of infinite purpose and potential planted in the soil of your soul, it will unfold, it will grow. The acorn doesn't surrender when the shell is breaking apart. It doesn't go, oh, I guess I'm screwed. It's surrendering to the oak of its being. So you want to be taking this time as you're going through the great grieving to open up to the great vision of your life. Ask what is trying to emerge as me by means of this pain or challenge or loss. What is trying to emerge in my business or my family? What is the great vision seeking to emerge in the world? Don't focus on just the problem. Be a beholder of the vision. Don't try to save the world or yourself. Serve what's emerging, because it's something magnificent always. But you can only get in touch with it if you're interested in it. So as you're going through the great grieving process, also be going through a great awakening to the vision. Ask beautiful questions, the answers of which you want to be the result. What is the magnificent vision seeking to unfold as me? What is the magnificent vision that's unfolding by means of this experience right now? What is God up to as me? What is life up to as me? What is the big idea here? What's life emerging into and evolving into as this magnificent planet? And if you ask, you shall receive. Okay? So don't acquiesce to the conditions and the appearances. The appearances don't tell you the truth. They just tell you, relatively speaking, what thoughts we've been holding up until now. All appearances are coagulated thought forms. And your emotions don't even tell you the truth. They tell you what you have been believing. Okay? And your beliefs don't tell you the truth. They tell you your best guess at reality. So let all that go and open up. More than I want to change, fix, control, manipulate anyone or anything, I want to know the truth that makes me free. I want to know ultimate reality. I want to see with the eyes of God, the eyes of love, the eyes of truth. I want to know what life's idea is of me, what God's idea is of me, of my family, of my marriage, of my business, of this world. Show me, God. Open my eyes, open my heart. Make me an instrument of a mighty vision of possibility. Make me an instrument in a place for unlimited divine love and service and joy and peace and prosperity. I'm willing. Make me strong enough, whole enough, open enough to carry that frequency. And life will say, I've been waiting here for you to ask, kid. All right? Ask a beautiful question. Go through the great grieving and open yourself to the great vision that life is up to as you. Share this with a friend. Comment about what you're getting from this. Thoughts, feedback, pushback. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help us all, including myself, move through this in a way that we lay the foundations to thrive, not just survive, and to succeed like never before. So stay tuned. Again, share, comment, engage. This is community, common unity. And community breeds immunity. I love and appreciate you. Until next time, remember to live authentically, love unconditionally, and follow your destiny. Take care.